Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox, and I am back again with... Wait, 2 minutes. Okay, cool. Book 2 of the Intermission, which is called the Book of Hope. So, it's going to be recapping our last episode and some of the things that we talked about, and there are a few things that I would like to bring back into your attention as we watch this, but I'm mainly going to talk over scenes that I'm fast forwarding through. I am going to try to contain as much of the actual dialogue, maybe if you want to slow it down to read it better, if you want to do it that way. I will also eventually be uploading a full raw version that's going to have the raw recordings for you to look at if you want to do that. But I'm going to try to summarize a lot of the plot points as best I can. And also give you a bit of my own thoughts on why those plot points in particular are interesting, including two very unique missed opportunities that happen in-game and as a result of these events. One thing that I do like to point out before we return to Sodley on his mission to find God is that he told Exia and the people at the church not to worry, that he would be back to help soon, that it would be a series of trips, not just him wandering in the wilderness for weeks and leaving them all alone. Anyways, I guess that's foreshadowing.
So this search also appears to have turned up naught. Several of the villagers said that they had definitely sighted the winged one around here. I have no reason to doubt them. Exia must surely be worried about me by now. It has been nearly 10 days since I left the village. I'd best be heading back soon. It was but a blur, but I saw it. That was no bird. The form of a man gliding across the sky on spread wings. The stories, they were true. Oh, God! Please wait! Your faithful servant journeys to bask in your presence!
How did it go?
It feels like the night before a great battle. As to which countries I should bestow the rings upon, I cannot yet ascertain.
Oh, somebody's coming.
I do not sense anything. Is this another one of your premonitions? We are on the summit of a steep and craggy mountain. One does not simply wander upon this place. Perhaps the fates guide them, in which case, it may be our bearer of light.
Ah.
Are you able to tell whether they are indeed the light bearer or not?
I see. A light. It is currently a mere glimmer, peeking over the horizon. But soon it could climb skywards and shine upon the earth. Or it could yet grow fearful of the coming night and sink behind the ridgeline. Which will happen? Nobody can tell. For our fates are ever evolving.
So, it is too early to tell whether they will illuminate the world or bring about darkness.
I'm afraid so. But the fact that we need his power remains unchanged.
So this scene is going to begin with Sodley finally meeting his gods, and you know what they say, never meet your heroes, but oh man, here's where the Job-esque part of this comes in, or maybe even the Sisyphean part of this comes in, because this is very much about having the full desire to serve God's will, but still being unable. And remember that You know, the connection to faith that Sadly has is mainly through Exia, so his relationship with his own faith and faith in himself is often related to his relationship with Exia. And there may be actually a similar thing going on with Gilgamesh and Amnelis, because they are kind of meant to mirror each other, both strong men who have... Well, we'll get to that part. Okay, I guess we'll move on.
It would take a long while to explain fully, so I'll keep it simple for now. We come from the future. Or, to put it more correctly, I suppose we were unexpectedly dropped into this era. If that wasn't enough, a great threat was also sent here to Ardra from the future.
A great threat, you say?
We must face that threat and defeat it, for the sake of all our futures.
However, the two of us cannot possibly achieve this task on our own. We tried to unify the peoples of Ardra and utilize their combined might to seal away the threat. Yet, it did not prove successful. Their constant desire for more power made them suspect one another, which in turn led to never-ending conflict, even between members of the same flesh and blood. The result was a painful lesson in how consuming man's desire to rule can be. But that also taught us what we ourselves were lacking.
Can gods truly lack anything?
We can.
But what could that possibly be?
You.
Me?
We need the ability to win people's hearts and minds and unify Ardra as one. The one who possesses such an ability is you, Sadali.
I fear you grossly overestimate me. I am nothing more than a simple missionary. But, that said, if there is anything I can do to assist you, I shall gladly carry out whatever it may be. So please, tell me, what would you have me do?
We would like you to keep serving as a leader of your faith and build strong ties with each nation's kings in order to eliminate needless conflicts.
One of the questions that this scene and this book especially is wanting to ask is, what does it take to make a person a god? I mean, clearly you need a certain amount of power, but how do you spend that power to become a god? And for Sadali, at least, upon meeting Gilgamesh and Amnelis, the answer to that question was not only power, it was that they had lived for centuries upon centuries upon centuries before. The answer more was time, or perhaps immortality, even though the answer to is this God had been so simple as to be, this person has wings, and my priest told me that these people have wings.
Lycaros, my lord?
Your concerns are warranted. The royal family of Lycaros are cruel and ruthless. We once misjudged them and made a grave mistake.
But to the question of immortality and the detached and mechanical nature of our gods, or at least those who have power against us, or at least those who command power through armies specifically, and they're detached, I mean, fundamentally they have to be detached and, to a degree, utilitarian to be willing to send human beings to die for futile human goals. They must truly think of themselves as God to be able to command people to do that, but I've given Gilgamesh a lot of shit, and after rewatching a lot of this, there's a good counterpoint here with Sadali, in that Gilgamesh is more of a god in the way that I would think of it in Amnelis as well, in that they are just so old that they are detached from time, from they don't share a lifespan interest with the human. See, we're the 100-year percent. they're the multi-thousand-year percent from the future, and even in the timeline that they come from, immortality isn't that common. There's, I don't know, maybe like 20 people in the world who are immortal. Probably a bunch of rich people, technically, that are immortal. I don't doubt it. We just never see them in FFBE. but immortality was like the ultimate weapon that they gave to their warriors for their ultimate super soldiers. And also their emperors and stuff, because of course the emperor takes the immortality for himself. Anyways. And while there are a lot of negative things that I could say about Gilgamesh that I already have said about Gilgamesh, he is at least self-aware and willing to learn from his own mistakes, and, you know, simply understanding of himself, and consistent in a way that Sadali is still unstable. If Sadali lives another 500,000 years, might he stabilize as well and become a cold, uncaring god like Gilgamesh? Perhaps.
Then, you have seen what shall happen to me?
Only you remain young, while your loved one slowly ages and dies. Struggling with that cruel reality, you will not be able to concentrate on what you need to achieve.
Hey, so, remember how I mentioned the idea of Chekhov's gun when we were first introduced to the time machine? How I said that it was a really powerful thing that the writers were allowing us to know, or that they would allow characters to know, that there is basically a universal reset button that exists within the world. That is a thing that can happen if you press the button. All you have to do is press the button. So this is Chekhov's gun once again, and now Sadali and Exia know about it too, which does not make me feel safe. So what we're going to be looking forward to over this book is to see that either Chekhov's gun is destroyed, discarded, or at least unloaded. Because otherwise, there's a reset button that can reset the universe, and Sadali knows about it, I'm just saying.
As I said, Amnelis is similarly gifted with the ability to receive premonitions.
The same gift as Exia.
Indeed. I had contemplated what makes you the bearer of light that Amnelis and I have long searched for. I now believe I understand. Bracers that imbue their wearers with anti-aging properties. One for you, and one for Exia.
We thank you both for your kindness and this most blessed gift. I give my word. We shall do our best to live up to your expectations.
And so we begin. The long battle to open the door to the future.
Against Sadali's better judgment, Gilgamesh has still given the king of Lycaros a ring, and things have, you know, kind of unfolded predictably.
Do you not know? A good war makes for good gil.
This is about riches?
If we defeat an enemy general, then we receive a great bounty. And there's plenty of other rewards to be had, too.
By that, I hope you do not mean pillaging.
And what of it? Our king wields a ring granted to him by God.
And so long as our kingdom has that, we have naught to fear.
But I hear that Horn too has such a ring.
Does it now? Well, sure, Horn is not a kingdom to be taken lightly. But then...
But then what?
In fact, Lycaros, once it takes power in any of the timelines that it does, usually wipes out both Rundle and or Heindler. And we see, even before kingdoms are given rings, that Lycaros will often attack one of these other two kingdoms. Just make a note of that in future run-throughs. And this is true in this timeline, at least of Rundle, which is basically down to its last men.
Then I shall let you in on a little secret. Wizette has changed allegiances.
Huh?
Can this be true? I thought Wizette was in a firm alliance with Horn.
It was Lycaros' aim to make that alliance collapse from within.
Then what will become of Wizette?
I hear they made a pact with Lycaros to split Ardra in two, east and west, and each rule over their respective sides. But I bet neither Lycaros nor Wizette intend to keep their fair share of the bargain.
This is certainly weighty news. But why are you telling us all this?
I remember you. You're the one who preaches about God at those churches, aren't you?
That would indeed be me.
Something makes me feel that maybe, just maybe, you could do good for the state of these lands.
I am sure the King of Horn would be most interested to hear of these tidings.
Well, you two take care then. Here's hoping we may have a world without war someday.
Are you all right, Sottily?
The tyranny of Lycaros continues no matter how many generations come and go. My involvement has not changed a thing.
That is not true. You will bring light into this world ruled by chaos. I know it.
Thank you for your unfaltering faith, Exia.
And once again, we see Sottily pulled back from the brink of despair and faithlessness by Exia's faith in him.
Well met, Sottily. Do you still continue your pilgrimages across the lands preaching respect for righteousness and the need for peace?
I do, Your Majesty. As a neutral presence in Ardra, that is but all our humble church can do.
One of Sottly's recurring issues, even before he goes, let's say, god mad, is that he tends to lie without even realizing that he's lying. He's lying to himself about the fact that he's lying to others, and this often gets him in trouble when he is doing business with kings.
What is it? You may speak freely.
It is in regard to King Kuri of Wazette.
King Kuri. I am due to meet with him soon to discuss the state of our alliance.
Well, I have heard rumors that Wazette has shifted its allegiances to Lycaros. King Kuri is known for being cold-hearted and calculating.
You wish to say that we should end our alliance with Wazette?
Well, not exactly. The shortcut to defeating Lycaros would be to eliminate Kuri and assume command of any remaining Wazette forces. Your Majesty?
No more than mere moments ago, you stated that your church was a neutral presence. But what you just said proves to the contrary, in that you would have Lycaros destroyed.
That's because many people will suffer if we leave Lycaros to its own devices.
What's to say that you, yourself, are not in league with Lycaros?
Why, I would never!
No kingdom other than Lycaros would find joy in sowing such seeds of discord between Horn and Wazette.
Rob just so happens to be the better of the two kings that we will see this play out over, almost a polar opposite to the other king, in fact, and through his wisdom he realizes that this peaceful solution is just another war to end all wars, whereas it seems that Rob prefers the idea of a peaceful stalemate between two heavily armed powers.
King Rob spoke true and fair, but if we leave Lycaros' tyranny unchecked, Ardra will suffer more than just ongoing turmoil. This land will never stand a chance against the great threat that Gilgamesh spoke of. We are doomed unless something is done. I must live up to the expectations Gilgamesh has for me, no matter the cost.
I am so sorry.
Why do you apologize, Exia?
If only I could have one of my premonitions in times like these.
Do not blame yourself. You have always been there for me when I've needed you. But I cannot continue to be so dependent on you in my times of need. I think we should try going to Wazette.
To Wazette?
Yes.
And here we see our perpetually platonic yet love-struck duo dealing with the weight of the Sisyphean task that God has asked them to perform. And yet, in their faith, they struggle onward to Wazette.
What is it? Exia? These are Wazet's forces. Could this be King Kuri himself?
A rare sight on the road indeed.
It is an honor to finally meet you, Your Majesty. I am Sadali.
I know who you are. Be brief with your business.
Huh?
You want something of me, do you not?
Wazet is one of the great kingdoms of Eastern Ardra. Your actions have repercussions on the fates of many citizens. I beg you, for the sake of peace, please refrain from carrying out futile wars.
For the sake of peace, you say?
Yes, Your Majesty.
We shall have peace everlasting once I, Kuri, become the ruler of all of Ardra.
Okay, remember how I was talking about how all of the villains have the same motivation of a war to end all wars? I don't recall if this was specifically Sadali's, or specifically Kuri's motivation during the story, but at least in this point, this seems to be a very pure version of that motivation. And when I say pure, I mean purely evil, in that Kuri doesn't even need centuries upon centuries and death upon death to go mad. He's simply a mad king from birth, from the seams of it.
Please do not jest in such a way.
And if this is no manner of jest, what then?
No!
Why would you?
Punishment. I know you whispered your words in the ears of Rob. Do not fear, priest, for I shall not finish you off just yet. You follow the teachings of your god, you say? How laughable. I, Kuri, am God. Or at least one day I shall be, someday soon. It is a certainty, and once I have shown the world my divine power, only then shall I have you executed.
Why do you do this? What is it that makes you so cold-hearted and cruel? Is there not even a shred of love or compassion for your fellow man left in your heart?
If you had come kowtowing at my feet without speaking falsehoods, then even I would have lent you my ear. However, I see what is really going on here. You use your church as cover to collude with the Winged One in a plot to kill me, the Great Kuri! But mark me, I shall slaughter all who oppose me, for that is my way!
So we can look at the person that Kuri is now and use that as a parallel or a foil for the person that Sadali is slowly becoming.
I cannot allow you to imprison me. I must stop these futile wars. It's no good. I shall never make it in time. And alas.
And here we see Sadali having a crisis of faith, but this time, unlike many of the other crises of faith, and like the most recent one, Exia isn't here to bring him out of it initially.
Why do our best laid plans fail so? Gilgamesh, my god, has placed his expectations in me. And yet, I have failed to live up to those expectations. No. We cannot be certain just yet. Kuri might not get his way. Even if he were to kill King Rob, Horn's forces would respond in opposition to him. Yes, that's it. Even Kuri must realize that if he were to perform such an act before the war is decided, then his own life would be at risk. King Rob may yet live. all is not lost. I must make haste to the battlefield.
Your king is dead.
You lowly...
Oh? There are yet those who would stand against me? Then remember this. We have your newborn prince. His name is Dario, I believe. Listen well, soldiers of Horn. Do you detest the great Kuri? Hate me all you want! But remember, we are in the middle of a war with the mighty kingdom of Lycaros to the west! If you want your revenge on me and to take your kingdom back, then you must first defeat Lycaros! For if you do not do so, your final hope, young Prince Dario, shall perish.
As another parallel between Curry and Sodley, we get to see Curry here acting out basically the plan that Sodley presented to King Rob, just in reverse. He takes over the opposing army by killing the king and using fear of the conflict to come to unite the forces.
We are too late. What have I done? Instead of ending this war, I have made it worse. This cannot be good.
We've been looking for you, Suddenly.
We have orders from King Kuri. Orders to kill you by the most brutal means possible.
Here we see Sodley again being best boy War to End All Wars priest. At this point, I would say that his ideological alignment is probably closer to where we see King Mont within the story that is unfolding naturally for us. But it's also crucial to see that his faith here is tested in the most powerful way possible.
Never!
You dare defy us?
Do not do this. Spare your own lives and hand me over to Wazette. They will kill you if you disobey them.
We cannot do such a thing!
That's right. We could never hand you over to the likes of them.
I am whom these soldiers want. They have no interest in your village. Why would you do such a terrible thing? Why cannot you be satisfied with just taking my life?
Isn't it obvious? You only have yourself to blame for causing us so much trouble. So we are going to make you suffer as much as we can before we put you out of your misery.
Just when I was at a loss, I had a premonition.
So that is how you found me here?
It's going to be all right. I shall deal with these curs.
You're going to deal with us, you say? Don't make me laugh. You'd be sorely mistaken if you think this is all of us.
There's so many.
It's too dangerous, Exia. Escape while you still can.
You will go nowhere but the grave!
Alexia!
Now prepare to die. So much for being the messenger of God. The Winged One!
It appears we are too late.
My head... It feels like it has been split open. Where am I? How did I come to be here? Where is Exia? And what of those villagers?
There is no need to worry. Exia lives. And that befell you no longer happened.
Here we get some of the mechanics of time travel, and Gilgamesh teaches Sadali how to effectively load Chekhov's gun. And also kind of gives him an update on how loaded it happens to be. Let me put what Gilgamesh is saying here a different way. We've already had the idea of memories compared to one's soul. So the scream that Sadali is experiencing is a conflicting set of memories, but not only that, the memory of his own death. So it is his memories which make his soul. And it is his soul or his memories which are reacting to him. And it is the accumulation of those memories, not having your mind reset like Exia's is being during this time.
It is possible, even for those who lose their lives, to return with their memories intact. But a soul that experiences death is ultimately damaged. Should it go through the process too many times, the mind will begin to deteriorate.
Then, this pain I feel coursing through my head.
It is the scream of your very soul.
That is what causes his soul to accumulate in a different way than hers, but also what kind of drives him crazy if you follow this through.
Losing all memory of what had transpired, just like Exia has done. But doing so would leave us no wiser, and only having wasted our time.
I understand your decision. I shall view this as punishment. Divine punishment, in fact, for my inadequacy to properly carry out God's will. As for Exia, I am thankful knowing that she does not remember what befell her. I erred greatly in ways that could not be undone. Even if it harms my mind and soul, it is better that I maintain the memories of those mistakes, lest I repeat them again.
We are thankful for your understanding. However, I implore you not to go beyond what you, or your soul, can bear.
I shall be careful.
Everything fell apart again this time, due to the unbridled actions of Lycaros and Wazette.
We will need to do something about those two kingdoms in order to avoid a similar fate.
But what is that something we need to do?
A most vexing question.
It is as Sadali says. Those two countries are an impediment to our unification of Ardra. However, we cannot assume that simply eliminating them will be the solution.
Because other countries might similarly rise up in their place?
Indeed. Perhaps we should wait until the next generation is ready, before conferring the rings once more.
That makes sense. With the passing of more generations, we can expect greater fruition from civilization. And what if we were to try bestowing the rings on just one kingdom for a change? We had worked on the assumption that when we give the rings to two different countries, it creates competition between them, which in turn stimulates their evolution. But it is only natural for a sense of impending danger to develop when another country possesses great power. And as a result, the outbreak of war becomes an inevitability.
I probably should have mentioned this before, but we were previously in, as indicated by Curie, Baby Dario's generation, which means that the Mont and Stern brothers, the Leonis brothers, would also be babies at this time. So likely would Macherie, Glaciella, yep. So we're going to see them in the next generation. But also I would like to point out that the idea that Sodley is flirting here with is the idea that one strong power, one strong leader is the one thing that can adequately unite the world without inciting war. So basically his argument here is for totalitarianism, or perhaps even strongman fascism at its worst, even though again he makes it quite innocently. It's also really interesting for me here, and I feel like this is a failure in the story, and I'm gonna throw some filler in here so that you can just skip this part if you don't want spoilers, and I'll try to keep it light, but, we know by the end of Chapter 2 that Oberon has a ring, and that change is going to play into the future of Chapter 3, so wouldn't it be interesting, one, to know a little bit more about, other than the blood of the dragon, why Gilgamesh believes that Oberon is the prudent king to give this to, the one who could unite all of Ardra, and also it would be particularly interesting to see Oberon in those shoes as a sort of foreshadowing, or maybe even something that would eventually play a foil to Oberon's path through part 3 of this story. However, what we do eventually get to see here in this story is pretty cool because we follow the Leonis brothers as well as Glaciella. And it doesn't play out in the same way, and we'll talk about it when we get there, because this is personally one of my favorite iterations of Prince Mont, especially for exploring the idea of the futility of a war to end all wars. Because even compared to the King Mont or even the Prince Mont that we see in the story, this Prince Mont has a similar yet markedly different disposition towards war.
The Winged One. For what reason would he come here?
How dare you trespass? Leave now or suffer the consequences.
Despite all the bluster about him being the perfect king of his generation to unite Ardra, well, we don't actually get to see Oberon outside of this scene, unfortunately, so drink in your Oberon lust while you can. He's not going to be on screen much longer, unfortunately.
Why would you give me such a ring?
Because I have faith in the blood of the dragon. The whole of Ardra faces a great threat the likes of which has never been seen before. In order to stand against that threat, the great houses of Ardra must come together and fight as one.
And you would have me be the one to unite them?
Are you saying you are unable?
No. If it is to protect Ardra, then I shall gladly do so.
Then I place my hope in you.
The Winged One has placed the fate of Ardra in my hands. What's more, he has granted me his divine power. We no longer have anything to fear from Lycaros. We march! Let us take Lycaros in one fell swoop!
Interesting. So, the Winged One appeared in Heinler and bestowed Oberon with a ring that has mysterious powers.
Yes, Father. The information appears highly credible.
For someone who is revered as a god to throw his support behind a single kingdom, it is surely a sign that he is up to some manner of wicked scheme. I suspect Heinler will approach Horn in order to better stand against Lycaros. In which case, we shall form an alliance of our own, with Leonis and Ovis.
Ovis will not be much of an issue. However, Leonis may require some persuasion.
And I have just the thing to persuade them.
King Kuri had another manner of proposal. He wants you, Stern, to marry his daughter Glaciella.
You know, other than the fact that Curry seems perfectly happy to just wed off Glaciella without telling her or asking her permission first.
Sottile and Exi have not aged a single day since the time that I was but a boy. For a certainty, that must also be the doing of Gilgamesh.
It is actually kind of nice to see them have a somewhat healthy father-daughter relationship. I mean, I'm sure it's plenty unhealthy, because how can you have a healthy relationship with Curry Wizette? But, you know, it's nice is what I'm saying. Especially after their relationship in the story, but I'm not going to get into that, except that to say that at least a couple of characters get a happy ending out of all of that.
Glaciella, will you do this for your father?
Leave it to me. You openly accepted my lowly birth and my family, Father.
My dear Glaciella, you are a wise and bold warrior who has inherited my own blood. There is none other worthy of taking the throne of Wizette after me.
I have long been prepared to lay down my life for you any time it is required, Father. I shall capture Sottile and bring his secrets to light. I swear it upon my name.
So I've been comparing King Mont and Sottile so far in this story in terms of ideology, but the better comparison is actually very early Prince Mont, who is directly and very, emotionally opposed to war and is a pacifist who is also simultaneously willing to fight.
What bothers you?
It would have been nice to have my brother here right now.
So Mont stepped away, did he? His dislike of battle has long been a thorn in our family's side.
Up to now, he has only displayed passive resistance, but this time it's different.
What do you mean? Has he not merely hid himself away, as usual?
He has run away to join the church. It seems he has been swayed by Sottile's advocacy of peace, and wishes to aid Sottile in uniting Ardra.
That fool of a boy!
Father, is there no way to avoid this war?
I fear it is no longer possible.
I see. And when the time comes, allow me to deal with the traitor that is my brother.
Your resolve is admirable, my son. Now there's little time to lose. We must see to our preparations for the coming war.
Yet another great war that shall divide Ardra in two begins. I devoted myself wholeheartedly in my dealings with the great houses, and yet... Am I at fault here? Was I wrong in my ways? What was it that I lacked? Once this war starts, there will not be a king left who will lend an ear to my words. They will be too busy fighting And what for? Simply to win? To survive? To kill their enemies? Do I even have a purpose to serve anymore? Why, if it isn't Prince Mont of Leonis?
I am no longer any Prince of Leonis, I'm afraid.
What do you mean?
I abandoned my homeland and hurried to join you here, my lord.
And why would you do that?
Surely you can guess. Not good ever comes from war. Lord Mont was deeply impressed by those very words of yours. Lord Mont tried his best to persuade his father of that. But King Alda would have nothing of it. It seems that King Alda believes you and the Winged One are conspiring to rule over all of Ardra.
I am not fond of conflict. But whenever I express that to my father, he invariably dubs me a coward. Father does not understand me, but if the need arose, I would gladly give my life for the sake of my homeland. I do not lack for resolve. It's just... this war is not a battle to protect our people. It is nothing more than bloodshed to sate the cravings of men. I cannot ask the members of my division to throw away their lives for such a cause. This is why I have come to you, Lord Sottile.
My dear Lord Mont.
And throw his life on the line, be on the front lines, be on the vanguard, to defend people and to fight for peace. And this gets a little bit more paradoxical when fighting for peace is fighting the war to end all wars, but at least in the individual case of a small fight or skirmish, it makes a lot more sense for, if anyone has to get hurt, let it be me. Let me be hurt so no one else can, or is, him being the masochistic tank that he is. Even as a king, admittedly.
I shall not back down, Lilith. Not ever.
I shall hold you to those words, brother.
Stern, I can handle this in your stead.
You needn't worry for me, Glaciella. My brother and I have known this day would come. Isn't that right, Mont?
It's how it has to be.
Lord Mont, you are brothers. This isn't right.
Step aside, Lilith.
Now to settle things, once and for all!
I shall not be beaten!
Well fought, brother. If only we could have fought side by side against the great houses instead.
And then shortly thereafter swoops in a Deus Ex Machina. Now, Sottile finds himself again at a crisis of faith. A very, very powerful one. A test of his will to his commitment to peace that he has shown, especially throughout this particular timeline. But with Exia not there, he breaks. Not only does he break, though, he actually uses the language of religion to justify his revenge. This is the first moment that we see the evil Sottile emerge from his shell.
This is all his fault.
His fault?
Do you intend to stop me? Or are you going to remind me about turning the other cheek?
Who do you mean when you say it is all his fault?
What good would it do you to know? Would you lend me a hand in seeking my revenge?
I cannot help you fight a personal grudge. We are in a position where we must be open to all possibilities. We cannot show favoritism to one military force over all others, or harbor animosity to them either.
A personal grudge? Are we not comrades? Fighting on the same side for the future of Ardra? Please do not try to stop me.
Sottily.
You mean to remind me that if we turn back time, then none of this will have happened. And we could do it all over again, if only we do not keep our memories of it. No. His sins will not be erased. He will not get away with this so easily. I am going to punish him for what he has done. And I do not care whether you reset time so that it never happened. Exia's suffering and sorrow, and my wrath, I shall carve them into his very soul. So get out of my way!
Taking their places, the gods of this story, Gilgamesh and Amnelis, decide to turn back time before Sottile can carry out his revenge. Because he was not touching Amnelis at the time, he will not retain his memories, though, for whatever reason, he still returns to the crystal place. The crystal shelter. I actually have the same question of the writers. Why didn't we get to see Oberon's timeline play out a little bit more? Or at least Oberon's involvement with his timeline play out a little bit more? He kind of just disappeared after that first scene. Never to be seen again. Much like Sodley's memories of this last timeline. This actually serves as an interesting role reversal for two reasons, though. For the first, this is something that's going to be driving a wedge between Sodley and Exia and leaving him feeling as though he is disconnected from his only source of faith in the world, which is her.
Exia! Are you alright? Exia!
I shall be fine.
But is it your head again? Does it hurt?
Yes, but it feels like the worst has passed.
Something is not right. We were meant to give only one ring to the King of Heimler, so that the major powers would come together under his leadership. Why did we suddenly abandon that plan before any conclusion was reached? And now you suddenly suffer from what appear to be some kind of seizures that steadily grow worse. Tell me, Exia, what has happened that I do not know about?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
But also, it's interesting that the thing that drives him so crazy about this is just that she retained her memories of the previous run and he didn't. Which has been the exact opposite every other time, and Exia, knowing this, has been a pretty damn good sport about it. However, one run that Sodley's soul doesn't grow through his collected memories drives him mad over time. I guess to a certain degree this is also an idiot plot about Gilgamesh and Amnelis not just telling Sodley the truth. I mean, sure, he's gonna ask questions and that may kind of, you know, you may eventually have to hide things or lie to him because ultimately he's going to want those memories and you don't want him to know why he should be so angry at Curry. But at the same time, this is just not a healthy way to deal with it, and he's going to piece it together anyways, but also be mad at all of his support system, emotionally speaking, for lying to him as well. And foreshadowing, I guess.
when I was not aware. No. Perhaps I was aware, but forgot it ever happened. Wait. That's something I felt Exia knew, but I did not. And then her headaches. They could be the result of only one thing. Good heavens.
How has your health been since we last spoke?
Okay, I guess.
I am sorry to have put you through that. We needed your memories kept intact in order to understand what happened here. And thanks to that, we learned that Kuri raided this laboratory with hopes to steal your anti-aging bracer. I knew he was cunning, but even the bracers did not slip his attention. Yet that was not due to any error on the part of us four. Which means Kuri may indeed uncover the secret of the bracers once again.
There is one thing that concerns me. I fear that sooner or later, Sadali shall realize that I have memories of my own death. You mean he has suffered my loss before?
Yes, several times, in fact.
You do not need to worry about us. We have remained resolute since the day we left Tessera. That we no longer live for ourselves, but only to help others. We knew that we would surely be hurt along the way. But I have Sadali to support me, just as he has me. So fear not. We shall overcome any hardship that comes our way. However, I think it better we say nothing of this to Sadali, or Amnelis for that matter.
So you want to bestow 3 rings this time. 1 each to Wazette, Rundal, and Horn? I guess that, if we create a 3-way deadlock, it may prevent one country from getting out of hand.
With the major powers keeping each other in check, they may come to depend on you all the more as a mediator.
That said, I do not think we can expect much from furnishing Wazette with a ring. Perhaps it would be wiser to confer just 2 rings, one on Rundal and one on Heinler. Or we could try entrusting rings to Horn and Ovis, then have them keep Lycaros and Wazette in line while making contact with Heinler.
No. Let us follow my plan to bestow a ring upon each of Wazette, Rundal, and Horn this time.
Oh, Sadali. Why do I feel so uneasy about this?
And what brings you here, priest?
Wazette is one of the great kingdoms of Eastern Ardra. Your actions have repercussions on the fates of many citizens. I beg you, for the sake of peace, please refrain from carrying out futile wars. Curse my tenacity if you must, but it shall not stop me from pleading this cause to you again.
Again? This is the first time you have pleaded your cause to me.
Of course, yes. This is the first time we have met, indeed. I kowtow at your feet. And I do so without speaking any falsehoods. I beg you, please, for the sake of Ardra, use your power to put an end to these needless wars.
The answer is no. If you do not wish to give me a straight answer, then so be it.
I am answering you honestly, Your Majesty, without any falsehoods.
Then allow me to ask a different question. What shall you do once our wars are no more? Do you think we shall all live happily ever after? A moment ago, you said that you speak without any falsehoods. Those words themselves were not the truth, were they? Answer me, priest!
Very well. I shall tell you the honest truth.
I have seen through your little ploy. As long as this great threat, or whatever Gilgamesh calls it, exists, he is not able to lay hold of Ardra, and thus he intends to use us to eradicate that thorn in his side.
Mustn't do this! Kuri!
That is the great King Kuri to you.
You said to me, if you had come kowtowing at my feet without speaking falsehoods, that even I would have lent you my ear. You don't remember. Or rather, you don't know that you told me. But you did. Word for word, that is what you said to me! No matter what words I use to try and convince you, you will never comprehend them. It is useless to waste words on one such as you. I should have delivered my message with force from the outset.
Force? I shall show you force, priest! Impossible.
You make light of me as a mere preacher. But I have lived many times. No, dozens of times. Longer than you. And I have grown. Now I shall cast out the corruption that defiles your flesh!
Suddenly! You're alive, aren't you? After you set out for Wizette, I dedicated myself to helping the believers at the church. But I was so worried about you that I could not concentrate on my work. And then I had a premonition, and I saw you. In that glimpse of the future, your face. It was dyed crimson with the blood of others, and you were smiling. I could not fathom what in the heavens had happened. So I came here with Gilgamesh. Please, Sadali, what happened here? Sadali?
Was this your doing?
It was quite the simple feat, if you must know. As we repeated the cycles of time, my soul and my command over magic developed so rapidly. In the end, it seems I did not have to use words to convince these people at all.
Sadali.
The answer was force. Why, even men like this can be made to listen with the application of a little force.
Do you truly mean the words you speak? Answer me, Sadali.
What would you have had me do? If I had merely been insulted, I would have endured it. But this was no mere insult. He meant to end my life. The pain I felt, and the fear. Can you even begin to imagine what it was like?
Oh.
I approached Kuri in good faith. He was not but a wretch. I did exactly what he had asked of me. I kowtowed at his feet without speaking falsehoods. And yet, despite that, Kuri had no intention of lending his ear to my petition from the outset. You expressly chose me to do your bidding. What you, Sema? Do you even need one such as I to begin with? Is there really any necessity to seek audience with men like Kuri? To be obsequious to them with fake smiles and fawning pleasantries? Is this what you chose me for? Is this the role of your divine messenger?
I sense a disturbance. Sadali, what else have you done?
I was all but tortured by that rotten king. The pain was too much, and I broke. I told him the truth. That there is a great threat lurking in a cavern beneath Leonis.
Did Wizette dispatch soldiers to go search for it?
Yes, I believe so.
We had best head there at once.
I am coming with you.
But you are in no state to...
I need to reap what I have sown.
So, it has awoken.
Are you okay? You look ghastly pale.
It is nothing. I shall be all right.
It appears the forces of Wizette breached the cavern where the Realm Scourge was sealed and awoke it.
So its instincts have reacted to the scent of their blood, allowing it to break through its bonds and ravage its way here to the surface. Now none will be able to stop it.
I shall fight it.
To what end?
But it's suicide!
The moment you use that crystal of yours, it will all be as if none of this ever happened. Hence, you can afford to be callous in the way you treat us, all like pawns.
Subtly.
You are God, so perhaps it is only natural for you. But I am a mere mortal. When I see people get hurt, lose all hope, and call out for help, I cannot turn my back on them.
Subtly, wait! I shall go with you.
If you wish to use your crystal, then by all means, do so. But I choose to fight. Even if it is a battle, I know I cannot win.
Poor Subtly.
It is my fault for not guiding him on the correct path. I wish to spare these two of the great burdens we continue to force upon them.
Then should we consider removing their anti-aging bracers?
That may be what it takes. Subtly and Exia belong to this land of Ardra. Merely having a few people who live forever exist here is enough to upset the natural order of things.
I shall not allow you to do that. You were hasty to assume I was dead.
Let me take care of your wounds.
That will not be necessary.
But Subtly.
Do you intend to abandon us?
That is not what motivates me.
But the result will be the same, regardless. I care not if you use the crystal to turn back time. But no longer will I be forced to redo my life each time you do so. Even if that very fact, too, can be made to have never happened. We are not pawns, used to bring about your preferred future. We are humans who are living in the here and now.
Do you regard me with contempt?
Contempt? Heavens, no. I still believe you are God. I simply no longer have any interest in worshiping you any further.
Eventually, that will lead you to desire to kill me instead.
And damn, I thought Amnolus was supposed to be the one with foresight, but I guess anyone can have foresight if you've relived the same series of events dozens of times.
You cannot tell Subtly that, Gilgamesh.
I care not any longer.
What do you mean? That I shall desire to kill you?
You have turned on me with intent to kill in the past. Several times, in fact.
I would also like to point out that Gilgamesh is confirming to us as the audience that there have been multiple repeats that also we have not seen, in addition to multiple repeats that Sadali has not seen. More than one, in fact, more than the one that we're aware of, but also more than the one that he's aware of. So this is one of those weird moments where we can see this rising antagonist, but also kind of identify with him for at least this one particular moment, because Gilgamesh and the writers, as by association, have been hiding this from us as well.
Despite my outbursts, you have faith in what I can do for our cause, which is why you made it so none of this ever happened. But why do you share this with me now? Is it because you intend on making it as if this very conversation never happened as well?
You have the right to choose.
The right to choose what?
If you wish to remember what happened during this cycle, then grab onto my ankle.